Hey, this is Mike from Ovid, and I'd like to show you how to start an event registration form. It's pretty easy with Ovid, and in my Ovid account, under My Events, I've started a new event. So once you get started, you're going to see that you have four initial steps. And once we activate the guest form, which is the event registration form that is relevant for you, you're going to have the fourth step here, guest form, because these are our guests. So in the event name, I've added a name. I've set up a start and end date, as well as a start time and end time. And you also have an option to keep this event registration going as long as you want it, right? So if you have a venue and you rather register visitors for a very long term, you tick this box. So the date is going to become unselected. It's going to show a little bit of gray here, and your customers and visitors and guests can register whenever they want for as long as you keep this event going. We have some additional options, a description that you can add here together with some text, photos, and so on and so forth. They're going to display on the page that is generated for you on Ovid. And one pretty important aspect is to tick the enable guest form. This is actually the event registration form. Some additional options you might want to have a look at is media. So you have an option to add a cover photo. You browse, upload, and then some additional photos, maybe from past events or some of the information that you want to display in a graphical format. Then we have the location, right? So we can add a location here and then place it on the map. It automatically connects with Google Maps, so you guests know exactly when they would arrive. Now, the next step we would take is set up the tickets. Now, in a free registration form, the tickets are actually categories that your customers self-select under. So we have, in my case, I've added the investor, the engineer, and the student. Adding a new one is pretty simple. Just press new ticket, add a name. If you want, you can add a description as well, and leave the price at 0. Once we've set up the tickets, we can actually reorder them, right? So by just dragging and dropping, we can reorder those tickets. Or if we need to remove one of those, we have this little delete icon right here. Once you press it, the ticket is going to be removed. We have some additional advanced options, such as the register with the hub plan. You can actually customize it to make sure that everything is clearly stated to your guests once they finish the registration process. You have email notifications. These email notifications are sent to you after each registration or daily as a daily digest. And you have the event reminders. These are reminders that are being sent to your guests, those that filled in the event registration form, right? You can set up to 3 reminders per event, and once they're being sent, they contain the content that you've added, and they're being set at a time that you've selected. And they also contain the tickets, the QR code tickets that those guests use to get into the event, which is the most important part of why Ovid in the event registration form is different from other registration forms, such as, let's say, Google form or 123 forms. Basically, we also send a unique QR code that can track whether that guest has the right to access your event or not. Now, the most important part in the event registration form setup is the actual form, right? So in my case, I've created a simple form that contains the name, the email, the organization, and the interest of that particular visitor. We can easily add new fields here, and those fields can be text fields, multi-text fields, email addresses, dates. All of these options actually select for a special kind of input. So for example, date has to be a date, and the drop-down list shows up as a drop-down list. As a side note, the drop-down list itself can have a multiple selection option as well. One additional note when it comes to checkboxes and drop-down lists, they can also contain HTML elements like links, bold, and other options. So for example, if you want to set a agreement to the terms and condition checkbox, you can also add a link to your actual terms and condition in the Ovid event registration forms. Well, I'm going to remove this empty field and I'm just going to go to the last step, the preview and publish section, where you can actually see a preview of your event registration form prior to publishing it. Now, in my case, I've already published it, but as you can see here, we already have the event registration form well set up. We have the options here, so the guest can choose between different types of registrations: investor, engineer, student. Remember, I've set this in the tickets section. And then we have the relevant information like the email address, the name, the organization, and the interest. Once I've seen the preview and everything is clear, I can actually press share. I can embed on my website, or I can just use the page that is generated by Ovid and send guests to my event registration form. Now let's test it and see how everything works. So I'm just going to add my email. And let's select some interest as well, right? So I like the tech. I really like this technology, and obviously I'm going to select all of them. And once I press register, everything is submitted and I get a confirmation that I've registered. And on my email, I'm receiving the confirmation and the tickets that I can use to get into the event. So in a nutshell, this is everything you need to set up an event registration form on Ovid for your community or marketing event.